Hi, I'm Ferdy Serum, and I want to give you an overview of our Ascend project for digital inclusion, where we recognize, engage, activate the talents of the community to develop community capacity. New Mexico is all about place. Our connections, families, cultures, and traditions tie back to the land. And anchoring our activities in communities allows families to draw upon three kinds of power: the power of place, relationships, languages, and culture, the power of goals in a family learning setting, and the power of coaching, providing family supports as work-based learning. Community capacity depends on growing people who can become a digitally skilled workforce. And the characteristics these people share is they have rock-solid math and literacy skills. They can use their skills to solve real-world problems. When needed, they can learn new skills on their own. Whatever they do, they execute with care, persistence, and striving for excellence. All of this results in a self-confidence that is well earned. And that's important because it turns out that being successful in education, work, and life is more about how you feel, act, and think than about what you know, according to David Goldberg, who is the architect of our economic mobility solution, the CSM. And here's how we do the work. There are three components to our project. Ascend is the digital inclusion activities. We're providing community access through publicly accessible tech hubs or paths, working with Chicanos por la Causa. And Excel Together New Mexico is providing our economic mobility, based on what has been successful in the state of West Virginia, where every adult has the CSM course paid for through adult education. The grant we've just applied for has 6 different areas that it's looking at. The digital inclusion activities are intended to help workforce development, public access computing centers, skills training, facilitating broadband adoption, and enhancing broadband services at low or no cost. But according to the 2021 census data, a lack of need or interest in home internet use is the primary reason cited by New Mexico households that don't subscribe to broadband. Our solution is designed to increase interest and perception of need by improving employability among covered populations that make up 90% of our state's residents. On the digital inclusion activities, we're providing digital literacy courses and coaching and support that then leads to digital inclusion community action research projects. And these projects are going to result in guides that show how people are using digital skills and tools to overcome barriers to the 10 vital services for surviving and thriving. Our approach is intergenerational. Elders, who we call our community digital navigators, are going to support adults and youth who are working learners in service and work-based learning, and young families who are going to want to know the best practices for parent technology use. So we include the entire family and leverage their skills and their connections. The basic model is based on the 100% New Mexico model for thriving and surviving. Over the past 5 years, 100% New Mexico, a project of the NIH8 at NMSU, has led detailed data gathering on 22 of New Mexico's 33 communities, and they're advocating for one-stop family centers. These are the 10 areas they're focused on, and the data shows the needs and the gaps. This example from Chavez County is showing the number of people who need the care or the service and those who find difficulty in accessing that service. We believe that access to broadband and well-developed digital skills will reduce all of these barriers. Chicanos por la Causa is assisting us with community access so that we could create publicly accessible tech hubs. But people need a place to go, and that's where we are partnering with Chicanos por la Causa, working with the community access centers that are supposed to get broadband, but unfortunately the federal funds will run out before they get them. On the map, you see the places that we have identified where libraries might be potential paths or publicly accessible tech hubs. The technical part of this work is designed to provide covered populations with a place where they can go. And so relying on great companies like ABBA Technologies, who have managed services and engineering implementation under their belt, we will be able to provide tech audits for the gigabit connection and hosting of the digital inclusion activities, as well as required upgrades to be able to do that. The publicly accessible tech hubs will be located in each community, especially where the 100% New Mexico one-stop shops are being built. Our previous work identified that we need more than simply technology access. While it's certain that if you don't have a connection and you can't stream, or if it's inconsistent, it's going to be hard for you to work online or learn or work at home. If you have no device or you're sharing one with somebody, it's going to be very difficult to do that as well. But there are two other vital signs that are necessary for this to work. One is language and literacy access. If people's literacy in English is above grade 5, they can do the CSM and the economic mobility. If not, they'll need some upskilling in that. And if their use of technology is infrequent, then they've not had enough practice to become highly skilled at it. If you have no access to coaching or in-person only, or can't do it online, then that's a significant limiting factor, as is the environment you're working in. Are the people around you fluent with technology, or are you learning it as they're learning it? Our work has revealed that these vital signs are incredibly important, and they form collectively the latest social determinant of health. It's well known that 50% of mortality and morbidity are the result of the factors that you see here, but what has not been explored so much is the impact of broadband. Broadband access depends upon the physical environment, and language literacy and digital literacy is key for the social and economic factors. Together, we're already at 50% of the impacts of social determinants of health. Telehealth access depends upon broadband, and the impact on health behaviors such as social media overuse or social isolation also contribute, painting the entire picture. So the latest social determinant of health is broadband access. When we look at employment, which means 21st century working and learning skills and workplace readiness, that's part of the promise of broadband. And that affects STEM, business management, administration, marketing, and sales in terms of employment. For learning, literacy, numeracy, and digital fluency are required, and these affect information technology sectors, arts, AV, and education and training. Finally, for health, community health and resilience depends upon human services, agriculture, food and natural resources, and health science. And that's how we're aligning what we do in our project to boost the economic mobility in all of these areas. Our digital inclusion activities for covered population include economic mobility, digital inclusion for literacy, numeracy, and fluency, and community access. And so the public access computing centers and the broadband services assisted by ABBA Technologies and their managed services will be supporting the 100% New Mexico locations where we're increasing community access. Economic mobility is addressed by the CSM certificate for workforce development and the skills training, both basic, advanced, and applied, that come with it. For digital inclusion, the covered populations must have significant support, and it must meet them where they are. So we're using the North Star Digital Literacy Assessments, we're using SEL for New Mexico for social emotional learning, and the Family Learning Company for learning at home to build up English and Spanish among populations that have too low a level to participate directly in the other programs. Going back to what we said before about resilience and self-efficacy, being successful in education, work, and life is more about how you feel, act, and think than about what you know. And OECD is showing us that too. We know that students with strong skills in problem solving and critical thinking have higher academic performance and well-being. Adults with strong skills in literacy, numeracy, and problem solving in technology-rich environments have higher employment levels, wages, and health outcomes. And the 5 key skills that we're reinforcing are task performance, emotional regulation, collaboration, open-mindedness, and engaging with others. The research shows that these are where the biggest impacts are. So accordingly, our economic mobility activities will be working on workforce development leading to skills training advanced and applied. And so this is where we are recognizing the talents in the community, engaging them, and then activating them to pre-qualify them for success in workforce development and community college activities that are available to them for free. And these are the skills that are developed and measured in this certificate. We mentioned them before: the rock-solid math, solving real-world problems, learning on one's own, and doing everything with care and persistence so that you have self-confidence that is well earned. The roadmap for this begins with a digital navigator and providing supports where needed for digital literacy, family learning, then leading into the CSM, which can assist with GED, post-secondary, and employment. And the course builds high performance in 20 to 70 hours. Depending on somebody's background, they may go straight through, but the only acceptable answer is 100%. So there's an opportunity to go back and strengthen, learn, unlearn, and relearn what may not have been learned in traditional education, but can be learned outside. And that's how we're working with these 34 core skills that are measured. The competencies are independent learning and learning agility, learning through reading, active learning, carefulness and attention to detail, persistence, self-reliance and resilience, and confidence, and self-efficacy. The program works for everybody. In Cleveland, high school dropouts went to college and succeeded there in unprecedented numbers, whereas in a Philadelphia health insurance company, everyone found it challenging, motivating, and there were more tasks than they could handle. But interestingly, the same people who are postgraduates, bachelor, associate, or high school all took the same course and all were able to validate their abilities. In New Mexico, we have a problem, though, and that is that more than half of our population is reading below a 5th grade level. It may not be surprising to employers, but it may be surprising to the rest of us that people with a 9th grade level of education are reading at a level of grade 1 to 3. And someone between 9th and 12th grade with no diploma has a reading level of grades 4 to 5, which is less than we need for the CSM. High school graduates, including those with GED, typically have a reading level of between grades 6 and 7, so they should be good. But that's why we're making the focus that we are. But what's most important is that more than half of our people will be able to take the CSM, and the ones who have difficulty because of illiteracy in language, they will be getting the supports from Family Learning Company. And so we think that over the 4 years that we're working, many of the people who would never have had a chance before will be able to get the chance by completing the CSM. We begin with a vital signs baseline data that everyone will take in a baseline survey. The people who have English literacy greater than grade 5 can go right away into the digital literacy course. People who turn out that they need more support with the family learning, or who are Spanish speakers that are looking to upskill so that they can work in an English employment, will be able to get those supports and then join the program as well with everybody else. At the end of that, they will have choices to either go into digital inclusion courses that are run every 6 weeks, 8 times a year, or the CSM course, which can take about 6 weeks to do, and the Story Maps courses, where they're learning to create and preserve language and culture through using story maps. If they wish to become coaches, there are 6-week courses to become coaches as well, which is where we are going to contract our digital coaches from the community, 90 of these. So that's our game plan of how we are working, and I hope you have enjoyed this. We look forward to working with you on how we can boost economic mobility through digital inclusion in your community. Thanks a lot.